Kourtney Kardashian has finally snapped. And this time, it's not just about her marriage falling apart. After years of keeping her silence, she's unleashing her fury, exposing secrets that shake not only Travis Barker but her entire family. Fans who once believed in their fairy tale romance are now stunned as the truth spills out. Betrayals, hidden affairs, and a battle over their child that no one saw coming. The question isn't just whether Kourtney and Travis can survive this. It's whether the Kardashian family itself will ever recover from the fallout. When Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker first went public, the world couldn't look away. Their romance didn't creep in quietly. It exploded. Within months, they were inseparable, posting constant displays of affection, holding hands at red carpets, and stealing the spotlight with their undeniable chemistry. In October 2021, Travis dropped to one knee on a beach in Montecito, California, surrounded by oceans of roses and candlelight, asking Kourtney to marry him. Fans remember the photos. Kourtney glowing, tears streaming down her face, and Travis locking eyes with her like no one else existed. It felt like the beginning of a love story Hollywood itself couldn't have scripted better. Their families started blending too. Despite initial hesitation from Kourtney's kids, over time, the bonds grew stronger. Vacations together, family dinners, and public outings made it look like one big, happy household. Kourtney, who had often been painted as the more reserved Kardashian, seemed to come alive again. She was smiling more, appearing vibrant, almost radiant, as if she had finally found the partner she'd been searching for. And if anyone doubted their devotion, the couple proved them wrong by tying the knot not once, but multiple times, from Las Vegas to Santa Barbara, and finally in a lavish ceremony in Italy. To top it off, they announced a pregnancy, and in November 2023, welcomed their son Rocky 13 Barker into the world. To the outside world, it was a fairy tale. A rock star and a reality icon, sealing their love with vows, babies, and endless PDA. Fans celebrated them as a perfect match, convinced Kourtney had finally found her happily ever after. But the picture-perfect image wasn't the whole story, because behind the roses, vows, and glowing smiles, shadows were already creeping in. For all the romance and picture-perfect moments, there was one problem that Kourtney could never quite silence: the ghosts of Travis's past. Long before he ever slipped a ring on her finger, Travis had openly admitted to being unfaithful in his previous marriage to Shanna Moakler. And not just once or twice, he confessed to cheating with more than a dozen women at the same time. That revelation never truly left Kourtney's mind. Even as she tried to move forward, there was always a seed of doubt. Could a man with that kind of history really commit to her? To their family, to the life she was building? Every time Travis went on tour, every time he was unreachable for hours, that seed of doubt grew a little larger. And then came the whispers that cut even deeper. The rumors about Travis and Kim Kardashian. What started years ago as harmless speculation suddenly resurfaced in brutal ways. Fans began pointing back to Travis's memoir, where he'd admitted having a crush on Kim. And when Kourtney learned that there might have been something more than just a crush, the fairy tale she thought she was living began to feel like a carefully constructed illusion. Kourtney had already lived through heartbreak in the past. She had already been forced to deal with trust issues in her relationship with Scott Disick. The last thing she wanted was to repeat the same painful cycle. But as more stories surfaced about Travis's questionable loyalty, it became harder and harder for her to ignore. The tension was building, and Kourtney could feel the foundation of her marriage start to crack. She didn't know it yet, but the biggest betrayal wasn't just a rumor. It was about to be confirmed in the most brutal way possible. The rumors had been swirling for years, but nothing could have prepared Kourtney for the moment the truth finally slipped out. After endless speculation, Kim Kardashian herself admitted that she had, in fact, been intimate with Travis Barker, while he was still married to his ex-wife, Shanna. The revelation hit Kourtney like a truck. This wasn't just some distant rumor or gossip column story anymore. This was her own sister confirming that a line had been crossed. According to insiders, the moment Kim opened up about what happened, chaos erupted. Kourtney, unable to control her fury, reportedly lunged at Kim in a heated argument. The fight became so intense that Khloe had to physically step in to separate the two sisters before things spiraled completely out of control. And while Kim downplayed the incident, insisting it happened only once and meant nothing, her words only made things worse. She claimed that Travis pursued her for a while, but she never saw him in a romantic light. For Kourtney, that explanation didn't matter. The damage was already done. She wasn't just questioning her husband's loyalty anymore. She was questioning her sister's, adding salt to the wound. Kris Jenner, the family matriarch, had allegedly known about Kim and Travis's secret for years. Instead of coming clean, she chose silence, claiming it was better to protect her daughters from unnecessary pain. But for Kourtney, that silence was the ultimate betrayal. Not only had her husband crossed boundaries, Her own mother had enabled it. Kourtney would later admit that this was the moment her trust in her family shattered. "I don't trust my own blood one bit," she confessed, a chilling statement that showed just how deep the wound had cut. The public might have still seen a glamorous couple smiling at events and posting picture-perfect family photos. But behind closed doors, the Kardashian empire was on the verge of imploding, and Kourtney was left wondering if the people closest to her had been conspiring against her all along. And yet, this wasn't even the breaking point, because the real collapse of her marriage would come not from old wounds, but from the words spoken by Travis himself. After the Kim bombshell, the tension inside Kourtney and Travis's marriage was unbearable. Every conversation felt like walking on glass. Every family gathering turned into a battlefield. And when arguments erupted, they weren't about small things anymore. They were about loyalty, betrayal, and whether their marriage even had a future. One night, during yet another heated fight, Kourtney suggested maybe they should take a break or even separate for a while. It wasn't what she truly wanted. It was said out of frustration, out of desperation, in the heat of the moment. But instead of reassuring her, instead of fighting for their marriage, Travis coldly told her that maybe she should go ahead and file for divorce. The words cut through Kourtney like a knife. She had only said it because she was hurting, hoping Travis would push back, hoping he'd tell her she was wrong, that he wanted to make things work. Instead, he agreed. To her, it felt like he had been waiting for an escape hatch all along. Later, Travis tried to apologize, saying he didn't mean it, that he was tired of the constant fights with Kim being dragged into every conversation. But the damage was done. For Kourtney, those words weren't just a slip. They revealed what he truly felt deep down. To the outside world, though, none of this was visible. On Instagram, they were still posting photos of family dinners, romantic moments, and lavish vacations. Fans praised them as couple goals. But behind those perfectly edited posts, the reality was far more fragile. Every smile in front of the cameras hid another fight behind closed doors. And the more Travis tried to pretend everything was fine, the more Kourtney felt the weight of the truth pressing down on her, but the worst was still to come. Because if words could wound, what Kourtney discovered next would destroy what little trust she still had left. Just when Kourtney thought things couldn't get any worse, the moment came that would shatter what little trust she still had left. Travis was preparing to leave for another tour, the same routine that always seemed to drive a wedge between them. The distance, the silence, the uncertainty, it all weighed on her. But this time, her instincts were screaming louder than ever. One night, while Travis was in the shower, Kourtney made a decision she never thought she'd have to make. She reached for his phone. Maybe she was hoping to prove herself wrong, to calm her racing thoughts. But what she found only confirmed her deepest fears. Buried in his messages were conversations with a woman she didn't recognize. They weren't the kind of texts you'd expect between colleagues or business contacts. Something about the tone, the timing, the secrecy, it didn't feel right. Her stomach dropped as she scrolled, each word pulling her deeper into the realization that the man she trusted was hiding something. When Travis came out and saw her holding his phone, everything exploded. Instead of calmly explaining, he lashed out. He insisted the messages were work-related, accused her of invading his privacy, and then, in a burst of anger, shouted that he wanted a divorce. He stormed out, packed his things for tour, and left without another word. For 3 agonizing days, Kourtney heard nothing. No calls, no texts, just silence. She refused to reach out first, determined not to chase a man who had walked away so easily. On the 4th day, Travis finally called. But instead of offering comfort or clarity, their 2-hour conversation spiraled into chaos. Accusations flew, voices were raised, and every attempt at reconciliation turned into another round of blame. What was once a love story filled with roses, proposals, and promises had now devolved into screaming matches, silent treatments, and shattered trust. And as if the personal pain wasn't enough, an even darker battle was looming, one that would strike at the very core of who Kourtney was, her role as a mother. As the fights dragged on and the trust between them shattered, the battle between Kourtney and Travis took a devastating turn. It wasn't just about their marriage anymore. It was about their son. Rocky insiders revealed that Travis began pushing for greater custodianship, hinting that Kourtney wasn't emotionally stable enough to care for their child on her own. To Kourtney, those words were a dagger to the heart. This wasn't just her husband doubting her as a partner. This was him questioning her as a mother. The rumors quickly spread online. Some fans sided with Kourtney, defending her as a devoted parent who had always put her kids first. Others pointed to Travis's claims, suggesting the chaos in her family and her emotional breakdowns might affect her ability to raise a newborn. It was the kind of narrative that cut straight through Kourtney's identity, threatening not just her reputation, but her bond with her child. Kourtney had faced plenty of battles in her life: breakups, public scrutiny, constant family drama, but nothing compared to the idea of losing her son. Friends close to her said she became consumed with rage and heartbreak, unable to understand how the man who once promised to protect her could so quickly turn into her greatest enemy. The custody fight wasn't happening in court yet, but in whispers, in legal consultations, in the kind of behind-the-scenes maneuvers that celebrities know all too well. And for Kourtney, every day felt like another betrayal. another step toward a future she couldn't control. It was no longer just a marriage falling apart. It was a war with her child caught in the middle. And when Kourtney realized that not only Travis, but even members of her own family seemed to be siding against her, that's when her fury erupted. For Kourtney, the betrayal from Travis was bad enough. But what broke her spirit even more was realizing how her own family played a role in it. Instead of rallying around her, Kris and several of her sisters seemed to quietly side with Travis, brushing off her concerns as if she were being dramatic or unstable. This wasn't new for Kourtney. For years, she had been painted as the outsider in the Kardashian clan, the one who refused to let Kris control her life, the one who didn't live for the cameras, the one who pushed back against the empire. But in this moment, the divide cut deeper than ever before. Behind the scenes, Kourtney lashed out, furious that her mother had kept Kim's fling with Travis hidden for so long. To her, Kris wasn't just protecting the family brand. She was protecting Kim at Kourtney's expense. The favoritism, the manipulation, the silence, it all came flooding back, leaving Kourtney more isolated than she had ever been. Even at family gatherings, the tension was obvious. Kourtney couldn't relax around Kim, knowing the history she shared with her husband. She couldn't lean on Kris, knowing her mother had chosen to hide the truth. And she couldn't trust Khloe or Kylie to take her side, because the family always seemed to close ranks when it came to protecting the image of the brand. In one chilling confession, Kourtney admitted, "I don't trust my own blood one bit." Those words resonated with fans who had always sensed the imbalance in the family dynamic. To many, it was clear. Kourtney was fighting on her own, not just against Travis, but against an entire system that had failed her. Publicly, the Kardashians still smiled for the cameras, still pretended nothing was wrong, but fans could see the cracks. And behind those cracks was a storm, one that threatened to tear the entire family apart. But even as Kourtney stood her ground, the fallout was far from over. Because while she battled her family's betrayal, Travis was busy building a different image, pretending that everything was perfectly fine. As the war between Kourtney and Travis raged behind closed doors, the public saw a very different story. On stage with Blink-182, Travis looked unbothered, posting photos from tour stops, smiling with fans, and acting as though nothing in his personal life had changed. To the casual eye, he was still the rock star husband, the doting father, the man living his dream. But for Kourtney, life had become a nightmare. At home, she felt abandoned and cut off, carrying the weight of a broken marriage and a looming custody fight all on her own. Every time Travis appeared carefree in public, it only deepened her pain. It wasn't just that he was gone. It was that he was pretending their life together hadn't already fallen apart. What made it worse was the silence. In the Kardashian world, silence is often more telling than words. There were no public statements, no joint posts, no signs of reconciliation. The couple who once couldn't keep their hands off each other now lived in separate realities. Travis hiding behind tour schedules, Kourtney left to pick up the pieces of a collapsing home, and fans began to notice. Online discussions grew louder. Why did Travis seem so distant? Why did Kourtney look so strained in recent photos? Why was the family avoiding the topic altogether? The cracks that had been hidden for so long were now impossible to ignore. For Kourtney, the final blow wasn't just the betrayal or the silence, or even the custody battle. It was the realization that she no longer had anyone she could trust. Not her husband, not her sisters, not even her mother. The fairy tale romance that once captivated millions had turned into one of the Kardashian family's darkest chapters. And while the cameras tried to capture smiles and glamour, the truth was far messier, far more painful, and far from over, because the real question now isn't just whether Kourtney and Travis can survive this storm. It's whether the Kardashian empire itself can withstand the fallout. So where does this leave Kourtney Kardashian? A woman once celebrated for finding her happily ever after, now standing in the wreckage of betrayal, broken trust, and a looming fight for her child. Travis Barker might be smiling on tour, and the Kardashian family might be keeping up appearances, but behind the scenes, the storm shows no signs of passing. The fairy tale is gone. What's left is a battle that could change everything: her marriage, her family ties, and even her role as a mother. But here's the question only you can answer. Do you believe Kourtney was right to never fully trust Travis, given his past? Or is this collapse the result of her family's secrets and betrayals finally catching up to her? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's see where you stand. And if you don't want to miss the next shocking twist in this story, make sure to hit subscribe, because this drama is far from over.